We have some possible casting news, and granted, this is just a rumor and the negotiations are still going on, but it seems that Colin Farrell, who played the Penguin in the Batman and its TV spinoff, The Penguin, is being approached by James Gunn and the other staff at DC Universe to portray a classic World War II DC Comics hero, that being Sergeant Rock.
Cause I've been living life right like I could just die any minute. Going for a ride down the side.
Hi everyone, my name is Jacob Berry. Welcome to the StudioJake vidcast where I talk about all things pop culture. Be sure to like, share, subscribe, and if you're watching on YouTube, ring that little bell so you get notifications when I post a new vidcast, and consider becoming a channel member. Okay, so Colin Farrell originally played the Penguin in the Batman and its Max streaming service spinoff, The Penguin, and I liked both of those projects. The Batman was actually number 4 of my top 10 favorite films when it came out that year. It's really interesting, and Jester Bell and I have talked about this when I've been on her live streams, how it seems that people who read the comics liked the Batman more than the general audiences. We were able to pick up on that, and the movie continues to have delays. It's very frustrating, especially after the success of The Penguin. You would think that James Gunn would have moved up the Batman Part 2, but it keeps getting delayed, and soon all that momentum gained by the first film and then by the TV series is all going to go away. Well, potentially there is another delay, and that is Colin Farrell, who, like I said, was cast as the Penguin. He is being approached by DC film leads James Gunn and Peter Safran about the possibility of playing Sergeant Rock in the Howling Commandos, who is a World War II type character similar to the early days of the original Colonel Nick Fury. So this is according to Comic Book Movie. The news broke that the Penguin star Colin Farrell is in talks to play the title character in DC Studios' Sergeant Rock movie. Daniel Craig has been eyed by filmmaker Luca Guadagnino for his next feature, but ultimately passed. That wouldn't be the first time the former 007 has missed out on a superhero role, as he was supposed to suit up as Thor's brother Balder in Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness' Illuminati sequence. Back to Farrell, and the response to him pulling double duty in the DCU as Sergeant Rock and the Penguin and Matt Reeves' Batverse has been a little mixed. There have also been questions about whether the casting will have an impact on the Batman Part 2, a movie many believe will never happen at this rate. According to The Hollywood Reporter, Sergeant Rock is expected to begin filming in England this summer. As for the Batman sequel, Farrell is likely to return as the Penguin and Reeves the Batman sequel, which DC Studios hopes could be shooting by the end of the year. It all sounds a little vague still, and it's no wonder there are concerns Reeves will never get cameras rolling on his long-delayed follow-up. Complicating matters is the fact DC Studios is moving forward with its own Batman movie, The Brave and the Bold. I signed up for 3 Batman films, but I didn't know if I'd be in the second film, Farrell said last year. Matt Reeves is a brilliant writer and extraordinary filmmaker, and what I'm most excited/nervous about in the second film is not what Oz does or what predicaments he finds himself in or what moments of success he gets to experience, but what his voice is. How is his personality? It was forming and changing in the limited series, and by the end of the 8 episodes, it's concretized into something else. There's a degree of almost delusional psychopathy present in the last scene, he continued. So how is that taken up in the second film? I was told I have 5 or 6 scenes. I don't have any hopes or any expectations. Doing the rounds to promote Mickey 17, Robert Pattinson was asked if he'll begin working on the movie soon. I bleeping hope so, he replied with a laugh. I started out as young Batman. I'm going to be bleeping old Batman by the sequel. Back to Sergeant Rock. The movie was written by Justin Koretskis, who penned Challengers and Queer for Guadagnino, and will revolve around the toughest nails leader of Easy Company, the combat unit fighting the bad guys in World War II forces in Europe. The Batman 2 will be released in theaters on October 1st, 2027. Sergeant Rock is currently undated. Okay, a couple of things. What is James Gunn and Peter Safran thinking? The Batman made bank at the box office, and The Penguin was a huge success for the Max streaming service. I think the two heads of DC Studios will want to use this as an opportunity to move it up. But instead, no, they're letting their massive egos get in the way of this. They want to promote The Brave and the Bold, which is not even a Batman title. Yes, it's true that they would use it for Batman to team up with various other DC superheroes. And he certainly had the longest run as sort of the co star of the series, but it also had Superman, Green Lantern, Flash, Wonder Woman. Pretty much every Justice Leaguer has had some sort of hosting role in The Brave and the Bold. Why didn't he call it the Caped Crusader to make it stand out from the Dark Knight, or just go on with Batman Gotham City or something like that? There are a ton of Batman comic book titles that he could have used. Legends of the Dark Knight, and if you don't want to go back to the Dark Knight because it's too connected to Christopher Nolan's series, the Legends of the Caped Crusader. He could have done anything if he wanted to avoid putting Batman in the title. I don't know why he is obsessed with this. It's just his ego. Now, I have heard rumors that the Flash director is no longer attached to The Brave and the Bold. I'm very happy about that. There are rumors he's trying to get Jon Favreau, steal him from Lucasfilm, and bring him over. James Gunn kind of want to get to the old band that acted as the architects for the original Marvel Cinematic Universe when it was still at Paramount. So it would be him, Safran, and then he wants to bring on Favreau and Avi Arad, who Avi Arad, he's still around. He still produces a lot of the Sony Spider-Man less universe films. He was connected to a lot of even the bad ones, but it's just kind of, he's just there to kind of produce them. He's not really, active a lot in them. His name is just still attached to them. He was one of the original architects with Favreau and Ike Perlmutter who established the original MCU before Disney bought Marvel Studios and Marvel Entertainment at large. Anyway, back to this casting. I feel like they're doing this so they can intentionally delay the Batman Part 2 even longer. If I was Matt Reeves, maybe just write out the Penguin, not have him in the Part 2, getting geared up for Part 3 so they can have Colin Farrell appear in Sergeant Rock, and then it can move on. Now, another thing that really annoys me about this casting, besides the fact that it's going to delay the Batman Part 2, why is Colin Farrell playing Sergeant Rock? Sergeant Rock is an American superhero, you could say, but he has no superpowers, right? He's kind of like Doc Savage in that sense. He was a World War II hero. He fought the Axis powers. He went on several missions. And then he had some more leadership roles later with the Creatures Commandos and things like that. So, why are they casting all of these British and Aussie actors for these American roles? Why not get an American to play that role? There are a lot of American actors who would do a fantastic job. Why are you casting an Australian for that role? Now, you could make the same argument for the Penguin, but don't forget, they put a lot of prosthetics on Colin Farrell to make him look like Oswald Cobblepot, or Oz Cobb, as he's called in the Batman and the Penguin series. So it just doesn't make any sense to me. I would have recruited an American actor, but they didn't ask me, and they really should, though. And the same goes for tapping an Italian director. Listen, nothing wrong with an Italian director. I'm sure there are really good ones out there in the aether in the cinematic space. But why are they having him, a guy who has mainly done like these weird sort of homoerotic films, to do a military action story? Why not get someone like Matthew Vaughn to direct it, or someone like Mick G, or anyone else who has done action films? Heck, James Wan would be a better choice. And yes, I know the quality of his films has dropped or has at least stalled, depending on who you ask. But he would be a better pick than this guy who doesn't have a lot of action films under his belt. What are James Gunn and Peter Safran thinking? Are they thinking at all? What is with these Hollywood studio heads gathering these weirdos that have never directed superhero films or even action films before, and just giving them a gazillion dollars to make a mediocre at best or a box office flop at worst? Why not tap someone who has experience in that genre. I mean, it makes no sense whatsoever why they would go this route. It's really, really dumb decision making. James Gunn and Peter Safran, if they really wanted to just let people think about their version of Batman, their sort of in universe, DC universe film franchise Batman, instead of delaying the Batman Part 2 where it labors in development limbo for so long, where eventually Matt Reeves goes off to do a different project, Robert Pattinson's schedule gets too booked up and he can't do it anymore, and everything in between, I think that they should just rush them out, get them out there, get it out of the way. Or maybe somehow, if you're like, hey, I don't want to do this as a movie anymore, do it sort of like you did with the Penguin. Have Robert Pattinson and Matt Reeves come on board to do a little bit longer miniseries. So the Penguin was 8 episodes. Do a Batman miniseries that's like 10 episodes. That would get people back watching Max, especially if it was most of the original people returning. I could see that working out. That would be a good plan. But James Gunn and Peter Safran, they're just dragging their feet on this when they should have moved it up. They would have made Warner Brothers several millions of dollars. Right now, DC is doing so poorly. There are rumors that if Superman fails, that they're going to maybe even spin off DC Comics completely. Because the fact is, Warner Brothers did buy DC Comics way, way back. I think in the 80s. I might be wrong about that, but because that's why they've been consistently Warner Brothers. Marvel did the other route. They just licensed out individual characters to different film companies until Disney came in and swooped them all up and just wrote everybody a fat check. So the fact is, though, Warner Brothers really hasn't owned it. It's just been whenever Warner Brothers falls under another business, they have maintained it, because there was even rumors that AT&T wanted to dump DC, and who was going to be waiting in the wings to purchase DC Comics, right? I mean, Nickelodeon bought Mirage Studios out completely. They own the complete rights to all of Mirage Studios works. And same with Disney with Marvel. Who would be waiting in the wings? Maybe Paramount, Skydance, hopefully someone along those lines where we won't get it so isolated, and hopefully not Disney. But James Gunn and Peter Safran need to desperately wake up. They need to realize that they are losing momentum with the Batman, because that movie did decent at the box office. Granted, it wasn't like a smash, but it did moderately well. And I think that if they played their cards right, it could be another big hit. But they're stubborn and they don't want to do it because they want to get their own roadmap started. And instead of just letting the Batman be a duology, kind of like how The Amazing Spider-Man was, they want to just thumb their nose at the fans and at Matt Reeves. It's very unprofessional, and they are willing to let it burn just to gamble it all on a Superman movie that should be called Superman Legacy. If you like that video, be sure to give it a like, share it out to all your friends, leave me a comment and tell me what you think. And listen, if you agree or disagree with me, I love to hear both sides. Please let me know in the comments. I try to respond to as many comments as I can, and I would love to hear your perspective. Be sure to subscribe and ring that little bell so you get notifications when I post new vidcast. And if you want to support the channel, become a channel member. You can also check out my locals community. The link to that is in the description of the video. You can sign up for a monthly subscription, or you can send my articles tips. It really helps me out when you do things like that. If you're feeling extra generous, check out my website, StudioJakeMedia.com, where I've got reviews on all kinds of things like anime, TV, film, comic books, and so much more. Another way you can support me is to check out my books. I've got 4 of them published right now, and I've got more on the way. You can check them out on Amazon.com. Get 1 or all 4, just type in the title or my name, and they should come up. Purchase them, leave me a 5-star review. It really helps out small indie creators like myself. Once again, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time right here on Studio Jake.